I welcome you to my channel. Subscribe and listen to my new stories every day. On the eve of our 8th wedding anniversary, the air in our home was thick with the sweet scent of lilies, my wife's favorite. As the clock ticked softly in the background, Clara, always radiant, handed me a small, elegantly wrapped box with a coy smile playing on her lips. "To my one and only," she whispered, her eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my heart skip a beat. The wrapping paper gave way under my eager fingers, revealing a sleek watch with an intricate design. The metallic gleam under the chandelier's light caught my eye, but it was the engraving on the back that held my gaze. "To my one and only," it read. A déjà vu moment washed over me, stirring a disquieting sense of familiarity. "Clara, this is beautiful, but..." I hesitated, my mind racing through memories, trying to pinpoint why recognition gnawed at me. My search ended at a Christmas morning from 2 years past, where a similar box had revealed an identical watch. A chill ran down my spine as I turned to face her, the smile fading from her lips as she saw the realization dawning in my eyes. "Tom, what's wrong?" Clara's voice trembled slightly, a crack in her usual composure. "It's the same watch you gave me 2 years ago for Christmas," I said slowly, watching her closely. Her face went pale, her usual grace crumbling under the weight of her secrets. "No, that can't be," she stammered, but her eyes darted away, unable to meet mine. "It must be a mistake." I left the room to retrieve the old watch from our bedroom. When I returned, laying both watches side by side on the coffee table, the matching engravings glared back at us like a silent accusation. Clara's face crumpled as she sank into the couch, her hands covering her face. "Clara, where did this watch come from?" My voice was calmer than I felt. Inside, a storm of betrayal was brewing, but I needed answers. "Tom, I'm so sorry," she sobbed, her voice muffled by her palms. "It was supposed to be for someone else. I mixed them up. I didn't mean for you to find out this way." Her confession hit me like a freight train. My mind pieced together late nights and whispered phone calls she thought I hadn't noticed. The world I thought I knew, the life we built together, shattered into fragments of lies and deceit. "I need to know who," I said, my voice a whisper of devastation. "It doesn't matter now," she cried, "but it mattered to me. It mattered more than anything." As the truth unraveled, so did our life together. That night marked the beginning of the end. I watched her, the woman I had loved, now a stranger woven with secrets and lies. My heart hardened with each tear she shed, not for her, but for the life I thought we had. In the days that followed, my shock transformed into a calculated resolve. Clara's betrayal, once a sharp pain, became the fuel for my retribution. Our divorce proceedings began swiftly, her pleas for forgiveness went unheard over the drumming of my newfound resolve. I would reclaim my life, but first, I would ensure Clara lost hers in the way she had once claimed mine, completely and irrevocably. As I walked away from our last meeting, the cold weight of the watch in my pocket, I knew I had not just lost a wife but had been freed from an illusion. Clara, once my entire world, was now a chapter of my past, closed and sealed away with the echoes of her deceit. As the early morning sun cast its first light over the city, I stood outside the courthouse, the bitter taste of betrayal still fresh on my tongue. The documents in my hand, heavy with the weight of impending finality, were a testament to the decisive actions I had taken in the weeks following Clara's confession. Our divorce was not just an ending but the beginning of my calculated retribution. Inside, the sterile hallways echoed with the subdued murmur of lawyers and their clients. I adjusted the watch on my wrist, the one Clara had mistakenly given me, a symbol now of her duplicity. As I entered the courtroom, I saw Clara seated, looking small and fragile, a stark contrast to the vibrant woman who had once held my world together. "Tom," she whispered as I approached, her eyes seeking mine, pleading. I met her gaze with a steely resolve, the softness that once played at the corners of my eyes now gone. "We're here to finalize the proceedings," I said coldly, taking my seat at a distance from her. Her attorney handed me a final statement, his expression unreadable. As I scanned the document, Clara's voice broke the silence. "Tom, I never wanted it to end like this. Please, can we just talk?" Her words hung in the air, heavy with desperation, but I remained unmoved. "There's nothing left to say," I replied, my voice void of the warmth it once carried for her. The judge entered, and the proceedings began. Each statement from the lawyers, each nod of agreement to the terms of the divorce, drove the final nails into the coffin of our marriage. Clara's occasional sobs punctuated the air, but they did not sway my resolve. With the final gavel, it was done. We rose, and as Clara approached, her eyes welled with tears, I turned away, the finality in my gesture clear. Outside, the cool air was a welcome relief from the stifling tension of the courtroom. But my plan did not end with the divorce. The real retribution was about to begin. In the weeks that followed, I used every connection at my disposal, delving into the details of Clara's affair. Her lover, a once successful businessman, became my target. Quietly, systematically, I began to dismantle his life, using legal and financial pressures to strip away his stability, just as Clara had stripped away mine. I contacted mutual friends and subtly revealed Clara's duplicity, ensuring her social isolation. With each move, I watched from the shadows as their world crumbled, much like mine had. But unlike me, they would have no warning, no preparation for the fallout. As I sat in my now too quiet apartment, the watches side by side on the table in front of me, a sense of satisfaction crept through the hollow victory. Clara and her lover would soon understand the full extent of my wrath, the real cost of their betrayal. As the city lights flickered on one by one, I planned my next move, the coldness in my heart a shield against the pain that still lingered. The game was only just beginning, and I was ready to play. The buzz of my phone cut through the stillness of my apartment, its screen illuminating the detailed notes spread out in front of me, notes that charted the downfall of Clara and her lover, James. Picking up, I recognized the voice on the other end instantly. It was Mark, a mutual friend once loyal to both Clara and myself, now a key ally in my campaign of retribution. "Tom, you need to see this." Mark's voice was tense, a hint of urgency breaking through. "What is it?" I asked, my interest piqued. "It's James. He's at the Griffin bar, and he's falling apart. Publicly." A cold smile touched my lips. "Good. Keep an eye on him. I'll be there in 10. The Griffin bar was dimly lit and crowded, the air thick with the desperation of the city's night owls. Spotting Mark at the bar, I made my way over, my eyes scanning the room until they landed on James. He was unmistakably unraveled, his appearance disheveled, a stark contrast to the composed businessman he once was. As I approached, James's loud, slurred accusations about Clara could be heard over the hum of conversations, his words painting a vivid picture of a man betrayed. "She lied to me, too. She's a cheat, a damn liar." James bellowed, his finger jabbing the air as bewildered onlookers shifted uncomfortably. Mark leaned in, murmuring, "Everyone's talking about it. He's ruining his own reputation without any push." "Perfect," I murmured back, my gaze fixed on James. This public spectacle was the culmination of the rumors I had seeded through Mark and others, rumors that twisted the knife of betrayal deeper into James's life. Feeling a surge of control, I approached James, feigning concern. "James, you need to go home. This isn't doing you any good," I said, my voice low and persuasive. He blinked at me, recognition slowly dawning in his drunken haze. "Tom. Why would you even care?" he slurred, suspicion threading through his words. "Because no one deserves to be deceived, not even you," I replied, my words coated with a feigned sympathy that belied the satisfaction roiling within me. I helped him up, steering him toward the exit with Mark's assistance. As we left the bar, James's muttered thanks were drowned out by the cool night air. Once we were a safe distance away, I hailed a cab, giving the driver James's address with a pointed look. Make sure he gets home safely, I instructed the driver, handing him a generous tip that ensured my instructions would be followed. As the cab disappeared into the night, Mark turned to me, his expression questioning. What now? Now, we watch everything he valued fall apart. And then, we wait for Clara's turn, I said, the darkness of the night echoing the darkness that had taken root in my heart. Walking back to my car, I felt the weight of my actions, yet the drive for retribution pushed any doubts away. Clara had ignited this fire, and I was merely letting it burn. The night held the promise of more revelations, and I was ready to stoke the flames further. The relentless rain mirrored the turmoil within me as I drove through the dark streets towards what would be the final confrontation. Over the past few weeks, my actions had systematically dismantled the lives of Clara and James, stripping away their veneers of deceit. Tonight, the last pieces of my plan would fall into place. As I parked outside an old warehouse on the outskirts of the city, the place where I knew James would seek solace, my heart pounded with a cold anticipation. The building loomed large and ominous, its shadowy recesses perfect for the kind of reckoning that awaited. Inside, the echoes of my footsteps mingled with the distant drip of water, the sound almost sinister in its regularity. I found James huddled against a wall, a broken figure shrouded in darkness. James, I called out, my voice echoing in the vast space. He looked up, his face a mask of fear and confusion. Tom. What are you doing here? What do you want? I want you to understand something, I said, stepping closer, my voice icy. This is the end. Tonight, everything you thought you could hide comes out into the open. From the shadows, I pulled Clara, who gasped at the sight of James. Her eyes were wide with shock, her hands trembling. Clara! James exclaimed, struggling to stand. What's going on? I brought her here so we could all see the truth, I declared, my voice resonant with cold fury. Clara, tell him. Tell him what you told me. Clara's face crumpled, her resolve melting away under the weight of her guilt. James, I used you. Just like I used Tom. I never loved either of you. It was always about the money. The revelation hit James like a physical blow, his face contorting with the agony of her words. He stumbled back, his eyes filled with betrayal. And now, James, I continued, my tone merciless, it's time for the final piece. Your business, your reputation, I destroyed them. And I made sure you'd lose everything else tonight. James lunged at me, a raw scream tearing from his throat. We crashed to the ground, grappling in the darkness, every punch I landed fueled by years of pain and betrayal. But even as I subdued him, the victory was hollow, the taste of revenge bitter. Dragging James to his feet, I pushed him toward the exit. Leave. And if you ever come back, the consequences will be worse. As James stumbled away into the night, defeated and broken, Clara turned to face me, tears streaming down her face. Tom, please, I'm so sorry. Can we? No, I cut her off, the finality in my voice brooking no argument. We are done here. Forever. Clara nodded, a silent understanding passing between us as she walked away into the rain, disappearing into the night. Alone in the echoing emptiness of the warehouse, I felt the weight of what I had done settle around me. The echoes of deceit and revenge would linger, a reminder of the cost of betrayal. As I left the warehouse, the first light of dawn was breaking, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper of lost love and bitter victories. Driving away, I knew this chapter of my life was closed forever, sealed by the hatred of betrayal and the ruthless pursuit of revenge. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear, the past, with all its pain and deception, was finally behind me.